So look over to the sideboard here. Geometry, Thursday, the 6th of February. SWBA. Wyatt, what's that stand for? Students will be able to also thank you for putting your phone away and taking your earbuds out. I appreciate that. Use and identify medians, altitudes, and mid-segments. Thank you. Okay. We're going to use and identify medians, altitudes, and mid-segments. So probably in order to use and identify them, we first have to define what they are. Okay? I'm guessing you guys don't know what these are in relation to a triangle. We probably know a median as far as the thing that divides the highway. Okay? Even if you've heard of that, that might be probably the only way you know of a median. Okay? So we're going to learn about a different way, and it's for a triangle. Oh yeah, or a median and for the middle number, literally the middle number. So if you count distances, okay, it's different than that too, but it does deal with the idea of middle. So there's like a median's in the middle of the road. The median number is the middle number. Okay, a median.
Middle of the triangle.
A median are a segment. It's a line segment whose endpoints are a vertex of the triangle. They're a vertex of the triangle, and the midpoint of the side opposite the vertex. Something's wrong.
No, it was an accident.
Yeah, she went to go smack the fly. She went to go smack the fly on the desk and hit my pencil and hit her in the head with my pencil.
A median is a segment whose endpoints are a vertex of the triangle and the midpoint of the opposite side of the vertex. So it goes to the midpoint. So it starts from a vertex. It starts from a vertex of a triangle. There are 3 vertices of a triangle. It starts with the vertex of the triangle, and it goes to the opposite midpoint. Why can't I go from the vertex to one of the adjacent sides or the touching side's midpoint? It would just be part of the side of the triangle, wouldn't it? Yeah. Okay, that would look kind of weird. So we want to go with something in the middle of the triangle there, okay? So we need to go to the opposite side. We need to go to the opposite side. Okay. How many medians do we think might be in a triangle?
Like 3.
Okay, like 3. Why do you say 3? Because there's 3 vertices, right? Okay, I'm actually going to agree with that because if I went from this vertex, I could go over to this midpoint. That was a really bad line. I can go over to this midpoint.
I feel so against that one.
Yeah, no. Okay. I could go from this vertex over to this midpoint as well. So I could have 3 different medians. I could have 3 different medians as long as they're going from a vertex to the opposite midpoint. Questions on that? Okay. You might want to write a little note here saying that you can have 3 of them, okay, just in case you might want to know that. Okay. Part of a note-taking skill. I know you guys have guys knows what part of a note-taking skill is. Just maybe sometimes you need extra information. Maybe you don't need that to remember. Maybe you do need that to remember. That's an individual judgment call will be to you. Okay. Continuing on. Altitudes. What do we think of when we hear altitude?
Colorado.
Colorado. Height. Why do you think of Colorado?
Montana.
It's higher, mile high. So
Mountains.
we think of going up. Altitude deals with going up. Height. Mountains. Okay.
When you fly, you chew gum.
Okay.
No, what I know.
Okay. An altitude is a segment that is from a vertex of the triangle. Stop. An altitude is a segment that's from a vertex of the triangle, perpendicular, or we have the logo for that, which is the upside down T, right? Yes. To the opposite side, or to the new line containing the opposite side. I'll explain that to the new line in a moment. But first, let's focus on the first part of this. A segment that is from a vertex of the triangle, perpendicular to the opposite side. So we went from a vertex, opposite side, and it has to be perpendicular to that side. Now, we call this the altitude because this is the height of the triangle. Okay? And you guys can even write that in here, that this is the height of the triangle. This is the height of the triangle. The altitude is the height of the triangle, okay? Just like we said a moment ago, when we talk about altitude, we're talking about how high something is, okay? Colin.
I'm sorry, just because.
Okay. So we're talking about the height of something. We're talking about the height of something, okay? So if I'm measuring the height of myself, someone's measuring my height, am I gonna want to be leaning over like this?
No.
Would that be very accurate? No one's there. We're good though. That won't be very accurate, will it? Okay. Am I gonna want to lean against the wall? No, it's not gonna be very accurate. Okay. You want me to be standing to where I'm perpendicular to the ground.
Yes.
If you're gonna measure the height of anything, you want it to be perpendicular to the ground. Okay? You want me to form a right angle with the ground. That's what you want for your height. So in the same fashion, for the altitude, we go from the vertex, the farthest point away, to where it's perpendicular to the opposite side. No dog.
Okay, so how do they really determine how high the Rocky Mountains are? Because like the bottom isn't like perfectly flat, so
Sea
it could be
level.
like.
I don't know what sort of instruments they use, but they have to use some sort of instrument that allows them to. Not like a trumpet instrument, but like a compass kind of instrument, kind of more like that. So I don't. Yeah,
No, you've seen the
trumpets are instruments, just in a different fashion. Like more of like a scientific instrument. I was making a joke.
Is that from
What? Yeah, they based off of sea level, yeah. But even still, like you can't like one was saying like you can't like drop a tape measure down and like actually measure it.
I bet you could.
So really?
Yeah.
Okay. How many altitudes do we think there are in a triangle?
2.
Okay, I heard 1 and I heard 2. Okay. So who said 2? Okay, Wyatt, you said 2. Okay, Wyatt, where would the other one be? Okay.
6.
Okay, where would the other 5 be?
One? No, there'd be two.
1. There's only one high spot.
There's
there's
one
one high
height.
point.
Oh,
Okay,
height.
so we're saying there's only one height, okay? Well, actually, on a triangle, it's really weird.
There's 3.
A triangle can actually have 3 different heights. depending
Boom,
on
like I said.
It's really
like
weird.
I
It's really
said.
weird.
You said
Like
2.
So we can still go from the vertex. Hey, we can still go from the vertex to being perpendicular to the opposite side there, or the vertex to being perpendicular to the opposite side here.
Mr. Castle.
1 second. So it can go from the vertex to being perpendicular to the opposite side, vertex being perpendicular to the opposite side. And so what would happen is as we move the triangle around, if this side were on the bottom here, this would be the height. If this side were the bottom, this would be the height. And the reason why this is when we use height in a triangle later, we use it in formulas to find the area. And when we do that, we take into account which side we're starting from for the height. So even though these heights are all different, you guys are right that the heights would be different, more than likely in these, and in this case they would. It ends up working out to where we get the same measurements, the same numbers, because this side is so much longer than this side, for example. And so depending on if we use this height, it ends up being a longer height, but a shorter side. And we use those two sides to help us find our numbers. So it's kind of weird. What were we going to ask?
It is.
It's really messing me up. Because my shirt's a little bit more purple than both of you guys' shirts.
It's similar. Not quite.
Yeah!
Wait, no,
Look.
that's pretty darn close.
Because look.
Wait, Trey.
You guys got a pair of
Wait, high five, 3 ways.
Maybe you have the wrong
You
name
ready?
on that
Ready?
sweatshirt.
1, 2, go. Yes!
1, 2, go.
1, 2, go.
Okay.
1, 2, 4.
Anyway,
Too bad that you're.
so an altitude can lie in one of 3 spots. An altitude can be in one of 3 spots. It can either be inside the triangle like it is here. It's inside the triangle. I need to put these in a different order. In this one, here's our altitude. Where's that at? It's not inside the triangle, but it's
outside. It's along the line.
this one is on the triangle.
On.
And where's the middle one at?
It's in.
The middle one?
Outside.
Here's a triangle, it's outside of it.
I said outside.
So the altitude can either be inside, on, or outside the triangle. Cool, put it away. Good. This is your warning, okay?
How many warnings do we get?
Okay, 1. So it goes on my desk. Okay? So, you can be inside, on, or outside the triangle, okay? So which segment is the altitude in each of these 3 triangles?
What?
What segment is the altitude in each of these 3 triangles? Segment
A.
AB is the altitude in each of these triangles, even though it's inside, outside, on, okay? Now, what I said earlier is part of the definition, if we look right above, is that it's perpendicular to the outside, unless you just raise that up. It's perpendicular to the opposite side, or the new line containing the opposite side. So on this middle one, guys, let's look at this middle one before we flip the page. At Wyatt Renner. Okay.
At
This middle one here.
Dean.
Okay. Pay attention to that, Grace. Okay.
Dean.
So. Okay. Hold on, let me take care of it. Thank you.
Hashtag distracted.
Nolan, let me take care of it.
I said distracted.
I know.
Yeah.
Y'all.
Let me take care of it. Thank you. Okay. So, from A, the only spot I can get perpendicular to this side of it is if we go out here. There's no way I could draw A to down here and it's perpendicular anywhere. It's not possible. I'm not going to get a perpendicular angle on any of these. So my only option is to go down and extend this line out like I'm using a straight edge and go. This is also part of the triangle, and that would be the height. That would be the highest point. It's kind of like if something was hanging over. The height is from here to here, and so you have to measure it that way. Questions on that? Now you may flip the page. Okay. Next we're going to talk about mid-segments. Okay? So for a mid-segment, it's a segment. What? Mid-segment has the word segment. It's a segment. I can't believe that. No way! Okay? It's a segment that contains the midpoint. What? Mid-segment contains midpoints. I can't believe this. No way, okay? It's a segment that connects the midpoints of two sides of the triangle. So every side of a triangle has a midpoint somewhere. We just don't always know it. And so a mid-segment connects two of the midpoints. So here in this triangle, to the right here, hold up. In this triangle here, to the right, we know D is a midpoint of AC. How do we know D is a midpoint of AC?
Because it's in the middle and it's a point.
How do we know it's in the middle?
Because it's in the middle of the
Because the
middle.
lines are congruent.
These are marked congruent. A to D is the same length as C to D, so it has to be in the middle. Because this length is the same as this. If I were to attach some random numbers to this, if this is 5 and this is 5, the whole thing's 10. Well, this is exactly halfway through.
Which is
Okay? That one's exactly halfway through, so we know it's a midpoint.
Okay, I
Because of these
honestly
tick marks.
hate how like pictures are not like scaled right.
Yes,
Why?
okay.
Like they
Yeah,
don't
that's-
look
yeah.
like it confuses me.
Yeah.
So like there's no way.
Yeah.
See,
Exactly, yeah.
So anyway,
without hairs.
is E also a midpoint?
Exactly.
Yes.
Yes. How do we know E is a midpoint?
Oh,
C and D are congruent.
C and
Yes.
E and B are congruent.
Wow.
So,
Yep. Oh my God.
is segment DE connecting these two midpoints?
Yeah.
So segment
Yes.
DE is what we call a,
Midpoint.
Mid-segment.
Outside.
it's a segment connecting midpoints. Mid-segment.
Yes.
Mid-segment. Midpoints, segment
Segment.
connecting.
Mid-segment.
Thank you for telling us.
Bam.
Okay. Take a breath.
Woo.
You ever seen Step Brothers?
Yes.
I thought of so many quotes to say in like the last
Oh,
5
there's
minutes.
so many good quotes in the movie.
That's why I was
My
like,
friend thinks the other guys is better, and I tell him he's so wrong. He's like, it's so quotable. I'm like, Step Brothers is so quotable. Anyway, triangle mid-segment theorem. The segment joining the midpoints of two sides of a triangle. Wait a second. The segment joining the midpoints of two sides of a triangle. What did we call that?
Mid-segment
The
theorem.
mid-segment. Nope.
Wow.
We call that the mid-segment.
you should medicate.
The segment joining the midpoints of two sides of a triangle, that's just a fancy way of saying mid-segment. Okay? So Wyatt, the mid-segment, go and finish reading. The mid-segment is,
He can't read.
okay, the mid-segment is,
Parallel
yep, keep going.
to the first side and it is half the length of that side.
Very good. So we're saying the mid-segment,
So funny.
the mid-segment is parallel to the third side and it's going to be half its length. So what side is DE going to be parallel to? AB. AB is considered the third side because it's the side it's not using the midpoints on. So AB is the third side here. So those two are parallel. And what do we know about their lengths?
They're the same.
Same.
They're parallel to each
They're
They're
mid-segment.
congruent.
What's it say in the mid-segment theorem?
The
other.
parallel.
Parallel.
Its length is
Half.
half the length
Half.
of.
The side.
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 Oh!
So if AB is 10,
Then
not AC, but DE is.
Five.
DE would be 5. DE would be half.
that is not right.
Okay. What if I say DE is 8? What if I say DE is 8?
16.
AB is 16. Because DE is half of that.
Yeah.
Question. How many mid-segments do we think we have in a triangle?
5.
3.
3.
3.
Because with this side down here, would AB have a midpoint?
Yes.
Yes.
Could I connect D and this new midpoint?
Yeah.
That's now a mid-segment. I connect that. That's now a mid-segment as well. Okay? If you're a gaming nerd, that's the Triforce from Legend of Zelda.
Oh,
Back.
Actually,
What
you're
did I
right.
ask?
Oh, Brayden's not here today.
Oh, that's Legend of Zelda. Yeah, he'd be all over that.
Yeah.
Scales all over.
Dude, I love these games though.
I love it.
Okay? I haven't been able to play them in a hot minute, but I love them. Okay?
I only play Madden.
Okay?
Oh,
so
you
you, it's okay, I can break you, man.
Oh, I want to
It's like going to Fortnite, boy. I'll take you to the house.
I've
boy.
never played Fortnite, so I'm sure you
I'll
would.
take you to Modern Warfare too.
Okay, I've played the new Modern Warfare also.
Well, you know what? I'll take you to NCAA football.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Dude,
That's cute.
I've been going to Hail Marys with you all day.
What's your?
Your coverage would be
I
trash.
could beat you with duck practice. No, you shoot.
I could be even live.
My overall was 6. He was 100. Yeah, that's what I'm
I can beat you with the Miami Dolphins.
I could beat you.
I can beat you with the
their
Reds.
colors-
I can beat you with the Redskins
colors
with
are
Dwayne
purple.
Haskins throwing. Okay?
I can beat you with the Bears.
Get red, Colton! I feel like the best one is the Miami Dolphins. They're
Actually, the
pretty,
Redskins
though.
are supposed to do that.
Actually, the Raiders, though.
they are
The
pretty
Raiders.
though. I can't, I'm not gonna lie.
I could probably take you to the house for Raiders.
No, I direct you with anything. I direct you with anything bad.
Oh, God.
Given triangle ABC with midpoints X, Y, and Z. Okay, hey guys, let's dial back in. Let's quit talking about how good I am at Madden, okay? Given triangle ABC, this big triangle ABC,
Yep.
with midpoints X, Y, and Z.
Yep.
Complete the following. Hey, we're told X is the midpoint.
Yeah.
If we're told X is the midpoint, what can we mark from that information if X is the midpoint?
X is a
Half.
triangle.
Side.
You can
Right.
go.
AB.
AB is what?
A,
This
B,
is.
Okay, let's slow it back down.
Oh.
B.
X,
Okay,
Y,
Brad.
parallel to Y.
Okay. No, it's not parallel to itself. Okay. Okay.
That's
What
not
if X is the midpoint? What is it doing to AB? If X is splitting it in half. So what do we know about AX and BX? They're congruent. Okay. What do we know about YZ then? If YZ is a mid-segment.
B, C, B, Z, C.
A, Y, and YC are congruent.
Okay, so if Y is a midpoint, we know AY and YC are congruent. That's true.
Yes.
What about Z being a midpoint?
Then B and C. BB and ZC.
Okay, we know those are congruent.
Yes.
Okay, so these are all midpoints.
X,
So that
Y.
makes XY what kind of segment?
Triangle.
I heard someone say it.
Parallel.
Mid-segment. You nailed it. It's a mid-segment. Okay.
Good job.
XY is a mid-segment. It's a segment connecting midpoints. Okay. Grace, that's my job, not yours.
Okay, well, you weren't saying anything.
Okay. Well, he also wasn't the only person talking.
Oh, well, he was talking about yours. I'm really trying to learn.
Okay. So we know XY is a mid-segment. According to the mid-segment theorem, we know XY is parallel to what? To BC, segment BC, this third side.
Okay, I was right. Sweet.
So XY is parallel to segment BC. And this should be segment XY.
Okay,
Fix that.
no.
Segment XY.
Why is there one dash on AXB on that whole line right there? There's 2 dashes on the other side. There's 3
Because-
dashes on top.
Okay, because Nolan.
They're all
Duck
congruent.
congruent.
X is the midpoint.
Yeah.
So that means this and this are congruent. It's got half.
Yeah.
Okay, so those are congruent to each other, one tick mark each.
Okay.
Y is a midpoint. So this is congruent to this. We don't know if they're congruent to these over here. I don't know that.
Okay.
It could possibly be, we don't know.
It looks.
Sure, but we don't know. You don't care about the looks. Okay? Yeah, we know you're shallow, okay? So,
Sometimes it'd be like that, boy.
if xy is 5, what would BC be? 10.
Yup.
Now, extra question on number 2. If BC is 10, what would that make BZ?
5.
And what would that make ZC?
5, 10.
So hey, wait, what do I notice
That-
about BZ and XY?
They're the same.
No,
They're the same, right? Because this is half of the whole thing,
Yup.
right? Okay. So I can put 3 tick marks there if I wanted.
Yeah.
Now, on the third question, if AC is equal to 30, if A to C is equal to 30,
Where
are you getting these numbers?
5. Oh. 15.
XZ is going to be
5. 15.
15.
15.
Because this mid segment is going to be half
Okay,
its
but they
third
look
size length.
equal. Like 5, they look exactly
They don't
equal.
matter.
Okay? Doesn't matter.
I just asked you.
Oh, I get
It
this.
doesn't matter what the looks are.
It does,
yeah.
though.
Okay?
At the end of the day,
No
It
more.
matters on
Looks
personality.
play
Okay.
a role.
Questions on this one? I know the picture is really dark, okay? Okay. Let's look at number 4. We're given the same kind of triangle, and we're told the midpoints are X, Y, and Z again. We're given the same triangle, and we're told the midpoints are X, Y, and Z again. So that makes X, Y, what kind of segment? X, Y, and Z are midpoints. So X, Y is a mid-segment because it connects two midpoints. What's Y, Z? What kind of segment is that? Mid-segment. What kind of segment is XZ? Mid-segment connects two midpoints. So we're told here, let's label this information. We're told AB, segment AB, is 5x plus 10. So I'm going to label that. Let's label that with me, please. Thank you. We're told AB is 5x plus 10.
Alright.
A good first step is labeling that information. And we're told that YZ is 3x minus 8.
Why is there dark?
We're told that YZ is 3x minus 8. On your guys, it might be better to write it off to the side up here and draw an arrow in, okay? Now what do we know, since YZ is a mid-segment, what do we know about this length compared to AB?
See that in there.
It's half, right? So how can we make an equation to where we can solve for x?
Together.
You do 5x plus 10 equals 3x minus 8.
Okay, but are they the same length?
No.
So would that quite work?
No, so
Divided
you would add.
What do we know? Okay, what are you saying, Wyatt? We'll divide what?
So you would 5x, plug it in and divide by 2.
Okay, you would divide it by 3x minus 8? I don't know if that's true.
By 2.
Okay, divide by 2? Okay, why would we divide by 2, Clyde?
It's half.
Because it's half. So I could divide by 2. Now, is this necessarily something I want to divide by 2? Okay, or if I was solving this, I can divide the whole thing, multiply the whole thing by 2, and multiply this whole thing by 2. And I get 5x plus 10 is equal to 2 times 3x minus 8. Is it the same thing that I could double the small side? Is this basically doubling the small one?
Yeah.
Yes.
Could I also do that?
Yes.
And is that a little bit simpler than dividing? Yeah, so division works, but our first step to solve would actually be getting us here anyway.
Well, wait.
So what we could do is say, hey, if we take our mid-segment and we double it, we multiply it by 2, then that can equal the whole third side.
Where did
So if we take our mid-segment, double it by 2, we get the whole third side. Yes,
where did
please.
the 2 even come from?
We were brainstorming, hey, wait, they aren't the same length. We said set them equal, but they aren't the same length, so they aren't equal. And we said, okay, what can we do to make these equal? We said, this mid-segment's half the length. So we took this and we took half of it. Half is dividing by 2, right?
Yeah.
So that's how we got that 2. Okay? Or if you double, that's also multiplying by 2. Okay? Now the important thing here is you don't just double the 3x, you don't just double the 8, okay? Jillian, did you find out where we were in the notes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you hear me 1 second?
So as we go to solve this, to find x, so we can plug it back in to find yz, big picture. Find yz, we need x to plug it in. Okay. What would be our first step? Distribute, very good. So left side stays the same, 5x plus 10. Left side, or right side is going to be 2 times 3x is 6x. What's 2 times negative 8? Negative 16, very good.
Right on the bottom.
So what would be our next step here? Why, what would you do next? Minus what? Combine like term, okay, how? Okay. Ah, okay, by subtracting both sides by 5x. Let's get all those x's together. Okay? So we subtract 5x, we subtract 5x. 10 is equal to x minus 16. If 6x minus 5x is just x, 1x, so to speak. Colton, what would you do next?
Freaking add 16.
I would probably normal add 16, but okay. What's 10 plus 16?
26.
26 equal to x. Are we done once we found x?
No.
No, we need to plug back in to find yz, right? Where do we plug it in at?
Either
one.
Can we plug it into either one? Let's think about this.
YZ.
No.
Do YZ though.
Are they congruent?
No.
What would happen if we plugged it into AB?
You have to.
Then you have to divide
You
by
have to
2.
divide it by 2 at the end, wouldn't you? Okay, so we actually want to plug it in. This 3x minus 8.
What?
3 times 26, does anybody know what that is?
I got it. I got it.
78
Yeah,
minus 8. What's 78 minus 8?
70.
So the measure of yz is at 70.
And then AB,
Yeah,
140.
78.
So that means what should the length of AB be then?
140.
140,
Don't
right?
shush me.
And so if we plugged it into AB, we should get 140. And I'll show that real quick. 5 times 26. Oh my goodness. Okay, 5 times 26, 130 plus 10. 140. Double check our work. Boom, we got it. Questions on that?
At the beginning, divide everything by 2.
No.
Or times it.
Okay.
I love
So you can think of this as,
Good
we
go.
can take this and cut it in half, aka divide by 2, and it's equal to this. Or we can take this and double it, and this we get the big side. We get the third side, which I think is an easier method. Okay? Any other questions on that? Good question, good question. Okay? Alright. So we're given this triangle. We're given a triangle OPQ. We're given a triangle OPQ. We're told O is at 7, 2.
What?
Colton,
No,
I never want to hear you say that again. Real talk? Colton, I never want to hear that again. Okay? Grace, I don't know if you're hitting him or not. If you are, you need to cut it out. Fair? Yes or no?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. O is at 7, 2. P is at negative 10, 5. And Q is at negative 2, negative 4. And we're supposed to find the coordinates of each mid-segment. We're supposed to find the coordinates of each mid-segment. Okay? Well, a mid-segment connects to what? A mid-segment connects to
points.
what kind of points?
Line.
3.
The middle of the line.
And
3 points.
So what are the middle of the line? What's it called?
midpoint.
Midpoint. Lesson
I said midpoint.
I'm sorry. Okay. It connects two midpoints. A mid-segment connects two midpoints. So if we're asked to find the coordinates of the endpoints of each mid-segment, we're really asked to find the coordinates of what? The midpoints. That's why it says midpoint, midpoint, midpoint. If we find the midpoints, we find the mid-segments, which is what it's asking us to do. So we need to start by finding a midpoint of segment PO, of this top segment. We can't just do it by counting, okay? Well, why, do you remember? Okay.
Let's test
Let's compare it in a moment, okay? Why? What do you think it is?
8.5.
Okay, you think this one's 8.5, 3. Okay, let's test it. Okay? Well, first of all, 8.5, 3, 8.5, 3.
Oh wait, no.
Ooh, I'm not so sure. Okay, I'm not so sure. Okay.
That's
8.
Okay. Let's not no more guesses right now. Okay.
That was
So.
a legitimate answer.
Because 8's outside the triangle as well. Okay. So what we do for midpoint, if you don't remember, okay, this is old school. If you don't remember midpoint, for the midpoint, what you do is you take x plus x divide by 2, comma y plus y and divide by 2. You do the average of the x's and the average of the y's. The average of something is adding them up and dividing by the number of things you added.
This little kid hurts when you try to do this.
Then stop.
That?
Yeah, and he's like this finger doesn't want to do it. Like, hold it.
Hey, no dog. No dog, can you write this down?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we add the x's together, divide by 2. That's our new x coordinate. We take the average of the left to right, go right in the middle, midpoint. Take the average of the y's, add them together, divide by 2. Average the up and down, that's our midpoint for the y. So for PO, what two numbers would I add together for the x's? Negative 10 plus 7. Thank you, Jessica. Divided by 2. What two numbers would I add together for the y's?
-10 plus 7.
Nope, that was the x's.
2.
5 plus 2.
2
We have
plus
5 and 2, and we add these numbers. And that's how we find our midpoint when we go through and we complete these fractions.
We've done this before, haven't we?
Yes. Yep, this comes back from chapter 1.
Yeah.
Happy to remember. So what's negative 10 plus 7?
Positive 3.
Nope.
Which one's negative 3?
Negative 3.
Yeah, negative 1.5.
5 plus 7 is 5 plus 2 is 7. And we like these in decimals, and as Sam said, this is negative what? Go ahead. 1.5, comma what?
3.5.
Very good. And so we'd graph this. Negative 1.5, where's it going to be? Halfway between negative 1 and negative?
5.
No.
2.
2.
God.
We go halfway between negative 1 and negative 2, left to right. And we go up 3.5. 1, 2, 3.5. Is this on the triangle? That's a good sign. If we get a midpoint and it's not on the triangle, it's not actually your midpoint. Okay, plot twist.
No.
Questions on that? Okay. I want you guys to find the other two midpoints. Okay. I want you guys to find the other two midpoints. We have all my work up here. We have the formula up here. You should have the work for the first one. Okay. I want you guys to find the other two midpoints: the midpoint of OQ and the midpoint of PQ. Okay. Once you have it or have questions, I want you to raise your hand. Once you have it or have questions, I want you to raise your hand.
No, you're
Hey,
not.
Gracie.
What? Hold on.
Okay.
I am confused.
You're confusion. Hi, I'm Confusion. I'm Mr. Nolan. Misa, no dog.
Are you sure you were just
Little fatty.
Right?
Okay, guys, if you're stuck or if you're done, raise your hand. If you're stuck, I want you to raise your hand too.
You do my calculator, not texting anybody, I promise.
Don't push me.
Yeah, Gail, don't push me.
Yeah.
I didn't see that.
Mm. We'll get you glasses. A rumble? You want to lose?
Royal Rumble. He'll be out first.
No, Sam. Josh.
If we replace the chairs with pillows.
Hey,
Yes.
what?
Hustle.
Yeah.
Hey, Clyde, you want to check white?
Yes. What's your plan?
Nolan, are you done?
Actually,
That one.
Okay.
Is right. That one.
Oh, I got it.
We're done.
Your page. You just have to start.
Why? Why do you have to step away?
Go check the mail.
If you want to start by yourself.
they said they
You probably find
It's your posture, did you like it because I left you up on the board the other day?
which one was it?
Whenever me and Ethan served you guys.
Oh yeah, what is it?
What do you
Yes.
divide it by?
See, my phone's.
I thought you divide it by the number of things we're adding, which is always two.
What? Who's
So
closer?
we're just finding an average.
You have a droid? Is there possible? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's not negative.
Are you serious? No, you're not.
Yeah.
Wait, really? Really? Oh my god. Are any of you trying to?
That's your.
Go sit down.
I don't want to trip. It's too easy. Yeah, why I just got your phone. It's too easy for me.
Kale, check mine, bro.
That would be.
Mine's right, bro.
Negative. Hey, you're. Oh, you're right. Kale, someone needs help. Go up there.
It's your hustle. No, I need help. Stop. Okay, so. He doesn't know. Stop. He came over here and started asking me something wrong.
You need help making that.
Do this with their.
Can you-
Can you imagine that?
Go check her. Dude.
I can wait.
Okay,
Okay, go.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
And you're like. Am I take your right? No. Right back.
He's already telling me wrong.
No, I didn't.
He's already telling me wrong.
Right?
Because he just said. And I got 6. And then
Stop.
I'm gonna
This
turn our
is not-
attention up
this
here
is
for the
not-
second one. If you've already done the second one and had it checked, okay, and you're still working on the third, go ahead and continue working on the third. Otherwise, attention up here, okay? So if you're still working on the third, continue. But if you haven't had it checked, but if you're not working on the third, attention up here. For OQ, we take the x's out of them together. 7 plus -2 and divide by 2. Stop. Thank you. We take the y's and divide it by 2. So we take 2 plus -4 over 2. 7 plus -2 is 5 over 2. 2 plus -4 is -2 over 2. 5 divided by 2 is 2.5. -2 divided by 2 is -1. That is our coordinate of our midpoint. We go over here and go to -2.5 and go down to positive 2.5. That's why I couldn't find it. A -1. We find our coordinate on the triangle, which is Good. Okay. Then we go over to PQ, we do the same thing. We're using P and Q. So negative 10 plus negative 2 divided by 2, comma, and then for the y's, we do 5 plus negative 4 over 2. Negative 10 plus negative 2 is negative 12. Two negatives become more negative there when we add. 5 plus negative 4 is 1 over 2. Negative 12 divided by 2, guys, stop snickering. Negative 6, okay. And 1/2, I don't need the extra, yeah, okay, I'm a teacher, I can handle it, thank you. It's 0.5 or 0.5, okay. Negative 6, comma, 0.5. It's right there on the triangle, okay. So these are the midpoints, which is the same thing as being the coordinates of the mid-segments. Because now if we were to connect these mid-segments, boom, we see them, okay? Now we can actually see those mid-segments. So we found the coordinates of the mid-segments like that. And we said what that secretly meant was finding the midpoints. What, Noel?
There isn't a don't try to be flag.
Oh, I am. Yeah, and also the 48 star flag.
Oh yeah, in the Trump 2020 flag, baby. The natural train.
That was pretty clever to slide that in there, I'm not gonna lie. Okay. So, next one here. Okay, well, first of all, any questions on this one still? Okay. So let's slide this in. Okay. Excuse me, not sliding it in. These aren't DMs. Okay. So example 10. Okay. If we're given a triangle JKL, and we're told the coordinates of JK and L, we're supposed to show that a midsegment MN is parallel to JK. So we're going to make a midsegment that's parallel to JK, and it's half its length. And we're supposed to show that. So right now we're going to make a midsegment, and then we're going to prove what the midsegment theorem says. This is essentially proving what the midsegment theorem says, that it's half the length and that it's parallel to the third side. So our first step is finding the midpoints. Our first step has to be finding the midpoints. Because we can't find the length, we can't find the slope to know that they're parallel until we find the midpoints. So step 1, find the coordinates of the midpoints. We just did that a few times, didn't we? We just got some practice on that. Okay. So the midpoint of JL, I would take negative 2 plus 6 divided by 2, comma, what? Negative 2 plus 6 divided by 2, and then what would be my y? For
3
JL.
plus negative
3 plus negative 1, thank you, Clyde, divided by 2.
So
Okay,
this
so that'd be,
sorry.
go ahead.
Is this the same thing we did on the other side?
This first step is the same thing we just did, just finding midpoints, okay? So we can go ahead and finish this. You can go ahead and finish that midpoint here, okay? And you have 2 plus 6 is?
4.
4 over 2. 3 plus negative 1 is? 2 over 2. We simplify, 4 over 2 is? 2 over 2 is?
1.
So the coordinate is 2, 1. And we were told up in our parentheses here, M is the midpoint of JL, so this is called M. So we go over here, 2, 1, and it's called M. Let's go ahead and find the coordinate of the midpoint of KL right below that. Go ahead and start that, please.
Have a good day. See you soon.
Okay, so midpoint of KL. Find the midpoint of KL now. Okay, we do the same thing but with the coordinates of K and L. So what's my first part going to look like? What's my x going to look like for this?
4 plus 6.
4 plus 6, very good, over 2. And the y looks like what? Grace, I'm going to have you help me with this one. What's the y look like?
No, the other Grace.
So what did I do with the other y's? Okay, y, don't need to comment, okay? What did I do with up here with these for the y's? Where did I pull 3 and negative 1 from?
The Y's of J.
Yeah, so where do I think I'm going to pull from for KL? Yeah, so what numbers are those going to be?
5 plus negative.
Yeah, very good. What are we going to do with that? Very good, exactly right. Thank you. So now we have 4 plus 6 is 10 divided by 2. 5 plus negative 1 is 4 divided by 2. Okay, values that came in, we're at the very end of 6.2. We're at the very end of 6.2 in our notes. Okay, so let's do you copy these notes. No, I don't think you were here last class, so I think you
I wasn't here to talk before that.
That's true. Yep. Okay, but just for the moment, I'll get you these so that way we can kind of hop in where we're at. So what's that midpoint end up being, guys?
It ends up being 5,
5-4.
comma 2.
5-2.
It ends up being 5 comma what you said? I agree. This ends up being 5 comma 2. And what are we told to call the midpoint of KL? N. Very good, Gracie. Okay, so let's mark this 5 comma 2. We're calling it N. So to connect these, that's a mid-segment. Now we're asked to prove that it's parallel. Show the mid-segment and side have the same slopes to prove they are parallel. Because what do we know about parallel lines? They have the same slope.
Yep.
Because that's how they never intersect. That's how they never intersect. Okay? I said that weird. That's how they never intersect though, is that they have the same slopes. So we need to find the slope. How do we find the slope of 2 points on our line? Rise or run. We can count. Slope of JK. How much does it rise from J to K?
2.
2. How much does it run? 6. So the slope is, thank you, Bulldog, 2 over 6.
Just.
Just don't eat the whole.
That was ninja speed. Y'all can't be that fast.
Yeah, that was. Well, the only thing that would have made it faster if you Naruto ran.
True, I forgot about that.
It's true.
Dang it.
Okay. So what's 2 over 6 simplified to?
3.
1 over
Oh,
3. Not just normal 3, 1 over 3, right?
my bad.
Okay, I forgive you.
So,
MN. What's the slope of MN?
that's 1.
The rise is 1
Rise is 1
and run 3. Are these the same slopes?
yes.
So are they parallel?
Yes.
Yes. So what I want you to write here, guys, you're gonna have problems like this. Hint, hint. You're gonna have problems like this. Hint, hint. Okay. What I want you to write now is say, excuse me, JK segment JK is parallel. That's a symbol for parallel to MN. And your proof for that are the slopes. Your proof for that are the slopes. Okay.
We don't
Proof
write
for
that
that
down.
is the slopes. Excuse me. Yeah. The proof for that is the slopes. It is. Proof is.
We don't
Proof
even
is
put
the
the down
slopes.
though.
Okay.
We don't even put the proof down, right?
So now we need to do the lengths because we need to show it's half the length. So step 3, we did step 1, we did step 2, now we need step 3. Use the distance formula to show that the mid-segment is half the length of the side. Distance formula, that's like forever ago. Does anybody remember it?
And
D square root x
no.
plus y, I don't know.
Okay, close. X2 minus X1,
Negative b plus or minus
quadratic formula.
Square.
Oh.
Y squared.
Y squared minus y.
Okay, here's the distance formula. Might want to write that down? Might want to write that down again?
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
We need to memorize this one again. We had it memorized before, we're going to have to memorize it again. Okay. D. Okay, so D is equal to the square root of x2 minus x1. Either of the x's, subtracting. Square that. Subtract the y's, square that, add them together.
That door like creeped you out.
No, it's just annoying, I guess, every now and then. So D is equal to the square root of, okay, well, for MN, I'm going to use the coordinates of M and N. So 2, 1 and 5, 2. And I can choose my x's in either order as long as I keep my x's together. So would I rather do 5 minus 2 or 2 minus 5?
5 minus 2.
Okay, 5 minus 2. We typically like the bigger minus the smaller. 5 minus 2 in parentheses squared. That's what it says. X minus x in parentheses being squared. Okay? Plus, the same thing with the y's. No dog, what's my y's? 2 and 1. Would you rather do 1 minus 2 or 2 minus 1?
2 minus 1.
Okay, cool. As long as we keep the y's together, we don't care about the order actually on these. And we square that. So my first step is d is equal to the square root of 5 minus 2 being squared plus 2 minus 1 being squared.
It feels like it's almost done.
So it's 9.
Not. Okay. What is 5 minus 2?
Why are you gonna crush
So
your
3 being squared plus, what's 2 minus 1? 1 being squared. 1 squared is 1. What's 3 squared? 9 plus 3. 9 plus 1, excuse me. What's 9 plus 1? The square root of 10. Okay? We'll hold that there for a second. Now we're going to do the length of JK.
It'd just be like 70 degrees.
Okay, I wish. Can anybody tell me my starting for JK? What would be my first pot?
parentheses?
Okay?
One over. No. Yeah.
What are the coordinates of J and K? What are the x values?
4
of J and
minus
K?
4 minus 2.
4 and negative 2. Would you
Four
rather have negative 2
minus
minus 4 or 4 minus negative 2?
Wait, where'd you get that from?
4 minus negative 2. Okay.
You get that
I heard,
up top.
1 second. I heard a few times, where did I get that from?
Up top.
Length of JK, the coordinates of J and K up there. For the length of MN, these are coordinates of M and N. Does that make sense now?
Yeah, now I see it.
Okay. So, we're finding the length of JK, right? So we're going to need the x's of J and K. So what's the x of J? What does it say in the instruction? Given triangle JKA
Oh,
with
from up
J.
top, alright.
Yeah. Okay, 4 minus negative 2 being squared plus, what would be my next one?
2. No, 3.
I can do 3 minus 5 or 5 minus 3
5 minus 3.
being squared. Now, as we do this first subtraction problem, 4 minus negative 2, what do we do there with the two negatives?
Keep changing.
Okay, we call it keep, a lot of us call it keep, change, adding the opposite there. What's 4 plus 2?
6.
6 is being squared. What is 5 minus 3?
2.
2 is being squared. Okay, I heard someone say D is equal to the square root of, well, 6 squared is 36. What's 2 squared?
4.
So D is equal to the square root of 40. Now, as of now, we might not know whether this is half or not, because the square roots, it's weird. If we were to punch into a calculator square root of 10 like we did earlier in the year, we'd find out D is approximately the 2 digits, 3.16. And then over here, the length of JK is approximately 7.32. And what do we notice about these distances?
That's so far off. They're,
Or excuse me, not 7.32, I misspoke. 6.32.
Common occurrence.
What do we notice about JK compared to MN?
That. Like,
It's bigger.
It's
How?
twice.
Twice. It's double. So we were asked to show here that the mid segment is parallel to JK and half its length. Is this mid segment half the length of JK?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I want you to write for this for our answer, like just like we wrote this up here, is that the measure of segment MN is equal to half the measure of JK is equal to half the measure of JK. So the measure of segment MN is equal to half the measure of segment JK.
Because that was all one
Homework is like 3 questions.
That's
problem.
Wait,
Not one
what do
problem.
you mean? Can we get a It's my thing.
here's what you do. Go ahead.
Every.
Back to you.
Every.
Just gonna see what time it is.
It's 1:59.
51.
51. I mean, like we have 8
Yes.
minutes.
How many questions on the
Wait, is this the question though?
homework?
That was one big question.
How many questions on
It's an intense question. I'm passing out right now.
Yeah, you
For a lot of us.
Oh! Questions? Is that what
Okay. There's one like this.
So Miss Quinn looking good today. You are. I'm being honest with you. Not what you want, huh?
How's the office life?
It's wonderful.
Isn't it a little busy today?
No, not at all.
mistaken. That is, it's very.
I just come out with I get a new one.
There's only one massive question.
Why do you already need a new one?
You're way back.
I'm not sure.
Try to eat it.
Yeah, hungry.
Guys, this is not
Kale,
yeah,
put it on your desk.
So guys, here's our worksheet for today. Okay, I really think a lot of these early problems will go pretty quickly. Okay, and then once you get down to 14 through 22, those are all very related. So once you get a couple of them, I think a few of those go a lot quicker. And then 23 is basically identical to the one we just did. Okay, 23 is basically identical to the one we just did.
Lovely. Exposed.
Can I take better pictures than the other one? Wait, can you even take pictures?
Hey, I'm trying to do